This weekend is the amazing story of Armagh All-Ireland champions. Who would have thought it anytime this year, up indeed maybe just pre-throw-in, that it was a possibility, because a team was written off. Such a story. You know, talk about coming out of university, and we're going to speak shortly live to Armagh to Aaron Kernan, who I'd say is in good spirits. My good buddy Aaron Kernan's going to give us the lowdown on the buzz on the Orchard County. Then we're going to zoom across to Galway, to Galway's homecoming. We're going to speak with former All-Ireland winner and also a top pundit, Seán de Paor. He's going to let us know the story in Galway as the fallout of this final defeat, a second final defeat in 2 years. Heartbreak for the Galway men, but joy for the Orchard men. What a story. And after that, we will be wrapping up the season that was 2024 in the presence of Michael McMullan, and we'll get a bit in depth in that match, and of course have Michael's views on it. He's the man to analytically break it down for us, surely. First off, a couple of messages I have to give out. Eddie Joe out in Gola, the wee man in the coffee shop. I'm sure you all know him well. I was out with him at the weekend there, listens in every week to the show. I thought I'd say hello to him. Of course, there's the Hoochie Mamas down there, Dara, Rosie, Marie, Maeve, Tressa and Pauline. Listen, girls, hope you're doing well. And the Golden Girls, of course, backing them up. Up G'dor for the championship. Listen, we'll be doing a club championship roundup next week, of course, as we look ahead to the club championships. Just from the weekend, Termon ladies, Division 1 champions, as ever. More silverware for the Termon ladies, and they beat a Rua 5-13 to 2-4. Great a few weeks for the club after their men's performances last week as well. Well done to them. Of course, the championships coming up for them. Opener against Glenfin should be feisty. We're going to then look across, along with next week's club championship, we're going to look at the hurling as well. The big weekends of the game, big games of the weekend. Sorry, Setanta beating Burt 22 to 3-11. Burt are coming back. There's still a way to go, I think. The Setanta team, of course, Ulster champions, not only county champions but Ulster champions. St Eunan's beating McCool's, and St Eunan's play Burt next week in a crunch game, a must-win game for both teams. We'll do a hurling roundup next week for you. I'm just looking at Joe. Did we get Aaron Kernan? No sign of Aaron yet. We're going to try and get Aaron on the line here, folks, just to get the breakdown of this All-Ireland. There we are. That could be Aaron ringing now. Try that there, Joe. That's live radio for you. You know, with the sessions on, there could be a baller getting an odd man, but Aaron's about to come on for us now to break down what was an absolutely fascinating final. A text actually, Seán de Paor this morning says that was your first Ulster All-Ireland final experience, because the game was just like what we'd see in Ulster, and we all had a fair idea that's what would happen, because the way Galway set up and what was at stake, and from years of looking at 20-point margins, we were thinking it would close up a lot more than that, and it certainly did. You know, 6 each at half time. The game was very much about systems and set and play. Galway were trying to leave a few up and trying to break down the rigid Armagh defence. Listen, if you're in the defensive setups, they were very good at what they were doing, and the goal, I think, the more than the goal that Galway got in the semi-final against ourselves, was the platform to go on and win the match. Was it a pass? Was it not? The debate is raging. One man that might tell us, was it a pass or was it not? We have tracked down the one and only Aaron Kernan. Aaron, welcome to DL Debate.
100%, Brendan. That was a pass. I know City long enough.
Totally
you could see the. Go on ahead. What's that?
Aaron, I couldn't believe it was even the debate. I've heard people completely rubbish. People on about he went for a point. He's seen the run. He's seen the late break. I mean, there was no doubt in my mind from the get-go. And from the commentator, as I say, you were sitting in there with your family, a great picture of you with a family after the match, the elation. I couldn't believe it was even a question mark. For me, 100%, he's seen the run. It was just the way he kind of disguised it. It was like one of those you'd see in the soccer, the eyes one way, but he was definitely putting that ball across for the palm.
Well, 100%. He's seen. Well, he said himself he didn't realise it was Aaron McKee. He thought it was Ray O'Neill, but no, you can see like that's a left-handed fifth pass, which in itself is unbelievable. But no, he knew what he was doing. He was putting that across the square. He couldn't. He was trying. I was actually in the far corner flag. I was in the Davin meets Hogan, and he was trying to get on his right foot to tap it over the bar, and he knew he couldn't, so he took it another step, and then just out of the corner of his eye, he seen, and it was Armagh coming through. But no, that's
McKay,
that's
no,
the fifth pass across.
Not McKay, as Willie calls him.
Let's not get Wally in a bit of trouble here. But yeah, no, he knew what he was doing. He was putting across. And worst case scenario, we're talking this off enough. If he had lost it, they had a possession. They still had to work the ball to hurry up field past 14 people or whatever it was. So it was the turning point. We were talking last week. Could anybody get a goal? And other than that, you're talking the two semi-finals. We get a goal from a defender. Galway get a goal from Paul Conroy, just basically putting the ball in from the middle of the field. So no inside forward scored goals in the semi-final or final, which probably is a reflection where football is. But in terms of the broader scheme, general truth is we really don't care at the minute. the crack is unbelievable here. We'll deal with that another day.
Aaron, everything can be bypassed. I think when you won Sam Maguire, really, I know we're getting into the nitty gritty or the nuts and bolts or the turning points in the game, but really, when all's said and done, Aaron, I suppose that the heartbreak of the story, Kieran McGuinney, the 10 years, the knockbacks to the county, Aaron, and like I said to you, I had a good chat to Kieran after the Derry game, and when myself and yourself and Molly talked there on the smaller fish, I had said to him, anything's possible with this team. Now, Aaron, I wasn't saying necessarily one, but I was saying there's nobody Armagh should fear because they had the ingredients of all other top teams. They just hadn't got, I don't think, the respect because of those games and penalties that went against them. I mean, the stat of 2.5 years not beaten 70 minutes says a hell of a lot for a team that actually has more resilience than they were getting credit for. They were getting an awful scalding from losing games and penalties.
Yeah, but hand on heart, I'm a bit like you. You're trying to give an insight, but be genuine, be fair, whatever. So, they're running teams really close. They're so hard to put away. They're brave. There's tweaks at times that yes, we think they could make, which would give them the opportunity to maybe win games that maybe they've lost. But resilience and fighting back is something that you can't question with that team. And then that, it always is said, it's the man at the top, he sets the standards, and your team should be a reflection of him. So it's no surprise in terms of how they behave and how they keep coming back time after time, given that he's the man that's leading the charge. But the reality is, I felt we had a great chance. That's why I was so nervous all week, was because I knew this happens every 20 odd years for us, and that's the reality, right? Okay, that's a fact. But I felt that it was an opportunity that was unbelievable for us, one that we could win, but you're equally as nervous because you're thinking, if we don't win it, how long is it going to be till we do get there again? And that was a bit that sort of unnerved you. But to be fair to the boys, whenever they get a sniff at any stage, and it was that goal, yes, the goal was the absolute turning point. It was tit for tat. It was, you were sitting on the edge of your seat. You knew this game's going to win extra time. But the way, just that score and then a couple of points after it, even though Galway clawed us back a bit, we were just able to stay that one step ahead of them the whole time. And to be fair now, last night, today, it's been unbelievable crack. You're sitting where I was in the Carrickhill there today, took the kids over. It's amazing. You know yourself. You know what it was like whenever you did it in 99 or 92, whenever you did it yourself in 2012. It's special. It's absolutely special. It's what makes the GA unique. It was just the buzz, everything is unbelievable.
Yeah. And Aaron, is there something about that in terms of, I suppose, the adversity that, the respect now that people were questioning, is that just making the whole thing so much larger? Because the Ulster was the game, right? That was the aim. Forget about anything else. Let's try and win Ulster. That wasn't happening. To regroup and come back with all the question marks now. Listen, Armagh, obviously football mad. We talk about their supporters and the colour and the noise that they brought to it. I mean, the game was so frantic at the end, the way it finished. I mean, I was thinking to myself, when you went 3 up, I says, there's no way McGuinney's just going to be able to enjoy the last few minutes of this final. And again, Aaron, I mean, people say about you kind of sat back, but of course, there's so much at stake. You can understand. Now, people say, well, did you not learn maybe from the likes of those two finals? But listen, naturally enough, you're going to say, let's sit and try and hit in the counter, which almost proved your undoing.
To be fair, they hit 2 points within 60 seconds. Where I was sitting going, Jesus, we're all in champions. Next thing, there's a point in, you're going, oh my God, this is going extra time, penalties, or not penalties, replay, whatever it is. So it was cruel. It was cruel at that stage. But I suppose the big thing is, you're talking about closing out games and all that there, and criticism. So, but that is fair enough. Like I said, I'm like you. You're sitting here trying to analyze things, trying to be as impartial as you possibly can be. But whenever you're not winning, you're not getting across the line. Was I honestly thinking that, how can you win an All Ireland having never won anything? And I mean anything. Like Donegal beat us in the Division 2 league final. I'm talking to a few down people this year, and they're saying to me, also, you beat us in the Division 2 league final, and in 2010 it was. They got to the All Ireland final. They lost. They'd been in a few All Ireland finals. They were trying to compare themselves to us. So that is the reality of it. Like, I don't know how you go and win Sam where you haven't never won anything, but them boys did. So the resilience that they showed, like that was the final. I met you down the street, yourself and Trassa, and the kids. Like, I was just totally deflated. I didn't want to talk football anymore. I couldn't believe what was after happening again. So I don't know how they felt. I don't know how they picked themselves up again. But they did. And you're talking, like, and you said this past few weeks, that conversation with McGeaney and that. So you have to give him credit. As like, how could you have picked yourself back up after losing another penalty shootout again? Because it's humiliating, it's demoralising, it's all of those words. Like, but they did. And then to top the group, they just drew with Galway with Soupy Campbell's fist at the last second of the game. But they did it. Where we were saying 3 weeks prior to that, there's no way they can pick this up. There's no way they can find resilience to come back again. But they did, and they're all in champions. And this county is absolutely hopping, and I'd say it probably will be for another 2 weeks.
And Aaron, listen, Aaron, do you mind? Seán O'Dwyer has joined us here. I wasn't too sure what time he's going to get on. Do you want to? Can you stay on the line a wee while there, Aaron?
Yeah, no hassle at all.
You're not in the bar yet because my buddy here, Seán.
Well, I'm standing at the front of the bar, and Benny's here, and he's in the bar, so I'm not sure whether you can hear him or not. He's close. He's in close proximity.
Jeez, if you put him on, we're in trouble. You stay there on the sec. I just want to hear from Seán. Seán, you were down for the homecoming today. What was it, Jim? What was the story, Seán? What's the feeling? People are talking about the toughness of Armagh defeats, but losing 2 finals now in close succession, Seán, that carries its own serious bit of hurt.
It does, yeah. There was 2 parts to the homecoming today. The first part was in Tuam, which is, I suppose, recognised, if you like, as the home of Galway football. It's only about 5 or 6 miles from Paor's home club, Killearn. So myself, wife, kids went down there this evening, and there was a band playing, and there was a stage erected. It's not that anything was taken for granted. It's just that you have to do these things in advance. And the team came, and now I was well back from the stage, but you could even sense in the body language, they're just completely, absolutely deflated. Paor said a few words. He said, "Look, I know." He said the usual stuff. He thanked the crowd for supporting Galway throughout the year, and the kids that were there, that this might prove, even though we lost, it might prove some type of or inspiration to them. But he said one thing that kind of struck me, I'm a supporter. I'm very, I'm obviously very disappointed after yesterday, because I just heard Aaron there. I was exactly like him during the week. I think, because obviously Dublin or Kerry weren't involved yesterday, that this was a real chance to win in All Ireland. And I suppose that magnifies it for us, because we've lost. But Paor said, look at guys, I know you're disappointed, but multiply that by 100, he said. That's how we're feeling. So, I wasn't at the banquet, if you like, last night. They had a bit of a shindig in the Radisson in Dublin city centre, but I think it was fairly flat. I've gone through this myself, and it's a horrible feeling. it we lost a replay against Kerry on a Saturday, and I think the following Thursday, my mother had to come in to the house that I was living in Galway City, and she told me to open the windows and open the curtains, and it was time now to
come back to the world.
Yeah, to go out and face the world. So I know what they're going through.
Yeah,
it's horrible. So that's. But look at. They had no choice but to bounce back.
Seán, and I think that's the way to do it. Like, I know it takes a while for that to settle in, and there'll be haunts. I'm interested to get your views on a couple of instances in the game, Seán. I just want to let my friend here up in Armagh go, because I can hear in his voice. You're up late last night, Aaron.
Well, it was bright whenever I was going to bed, to be that's for sure. But no, in fairness, we chat fairly regularly, as you know, and I love Joyce. I love the team.
Yeah.
I grew up. I wore the tape out of a year till Sunday in terms of Seán Ogan doing his play. So you do feel it from, and that's what yesterday was about. It was, you knew it was such a massive occasion for both counties. And I had a friend home from England, and he just said it's the best sporting event he was ever at in terms of the camaraderie between both sets of supporters. Like, I just shook hands with the lady sitting beside me as made the best team win. She shook my hand whenever it was all over. So for me, I love PJ. I love Joyce. I love that Galway team that Seán Ogan was part of. I love how they carried themselves. I love how they play football. But for us, it was just such a massive opportunity that I'm delighted everybody's grasped. And like the euphoria last night, the euphoria today, it's unbelievable. But I was there. Dad was coaching in 03, and I know what Seán was talking about. It's awake. It is absolutely awake. There's no. I don't even really ever actually get over it. I know I lost one All-Ireland club against Kilmacud, and we bet them a few years later. But I still feel that there's so much happening in that game where I knew I could have done better, or we could have done better, or whatever. So it's so hard to take, and that's the sad reality of competitive sport at this level. But just absolutely delighted, thrilled for our boys, but do same time. Still, you feel for Galway, because I just like and I admire that team, their coaches, and everything that they do.
Yeah, indeed. Listen, not many boys get the better use cross boys. You go back and get whoever did that. That's
right. Well, I go and tell Benny Tierney now we're asking about him, or what?
Tell Benny we'll get him on the extended podcast. He can do some of his stand-up routines. Listen, how could you not love Benny? What a character! I was watching him up for the match with Seán Ogan there. It was great entertainment on Saturday night when the whole possibilities of the world was there. But listen, Aaron, I appreciate you coming on. I know you're going back in to join the celebration, so you rock on there, lad, and we'll chat to you in a bit.
Well, the pints just after landing outside the pub me here now, TV, so that's me. I'll sign off for that, and good luck.
I could be up yet.
I'll talk to you soon. Cheers.
All right, kid.
Thank
Good
you.
man. Thanks for coming on.
Good luck.
Fair play to you, Aaron. Listen, fair play to him for coming on. And the more on yourself, Seán, I really appreciate it, because I know it's a difficult proposition. And as Aaron said there, they don't really care, Seán, because they've won the match. And I was just thinking, from your perspective, you know, we talked all year about Galway being patched up, and then you'd obviously the horrific penalty going off. Obviously, Comer just wasn't himself. Then you had the misfreeze from Walsh, and you're putting all that in the mix, and you still had the opportunity to equalise. Is that, Seán, would it be kind of easier in many ways if Galway or if Armagh had won the game by a few points and you thought, well, we weren't good enough? Like, with all those things thrown against you, there is some guts in this Galway team, because they just kept coming back, even though a lot of their main men weren't operating. You know, obviously Conroy, brilliant first half. Maybe, you know, he shut down a wee bit in the second half in terms of his play. I mean, Fitzgerald probably did fairly well at the back. Maher again, you know, he's such a soldier in there. But of course, Darcy's performance, I mean, someone's always going to step up. I mean, he was unbelievable on the day as well. And you know, if you take the kickouts as well, you know, the pressure was put on by Armagh and the way they were sucking. It's a very difficult opposition, that the full 15 drilled over and back. So all those things against Galway, and it still comes down to McHugh's ball off the post, really.
Yeah, it's very, very thin margins. I agree with you. Like, all the talk on we'll say Saturday, when, as you said yourself, the world was full of possibilities. All the talk from our side of things, anyways, was the three lads, as in Sean Kelly, Shane Welch and Damien Comer, were they fit? Were they not fit? Right now, when we were playing 20 years ago, the medical updates, you'd know what was wrong with the players, but now it's kind of, there's an omerta in terms of medical. Nobody knows, right? So I still don't know whether those lads were fully fit or not. Maybe they were patched up, but certainly, and it's not. Look at I'm not criticizing or anything like that, but Damien Comer, for example, he can be, I suppose, more effective than what he showed yesterday. That said, and you are right, it was, I think Galway won, if memory serves me correctly, I think Galway won the first throw-in, and as soon as they did, boom, 15 Armagh players back, and you knew this is, they're setting out their stall. We had to break that down. We held possession for about 2 or 3 minutes, and then Paul Conroy gets his super score at the start of the first half. But it was, it was kind of laboured in a way. I mean, if to retain possession for 2 or 3 minutes, then to get your score, if you were relying on brilliant scores like that, throughout the 70 minutes, you were going to be in trouble. Whereas then straight away, Armagh went down the field. They were incisive, and they got an equaliser straight away. They just seemed to get their scores that bit easier. Yeah. And I'll reference, Conlett Gilligan. He was brought in, I think it was this year, as part of the Armagh management. But I read someplace that he's in charge of their transition, right? So, that was, they were very, very good at the transition. And even the very last play, where Killian McDade was dispossessed out beside the Cusack stand. When the final whistle went, you had 3 or 4 Armaghs, powering up the field on the transition. This is in the 76th minute. So, they were very well drilled, very difficult to break down. And like you said, it was inches. I mean, Dylan McHugh's shot that hit the post, I felt if that went over, what I think the Americans call it the big mo. We'd have had the big momentum then. We could have gone on to win it. But I'll go back to what I said earlier. It was so difficult to break that down. I mean, we saw the difficulty that David Clifford had in the semi-final. I mean, apart from the first minute or two, that Armagh defence was, it was basically nearly impenetrable. So, look at.
Tell me, Seán. See around that defensive shape. When Galway locked it down second half, they looked at times like they could manage it. I know it's a hard thing to get your head around because you were trying to leave a couple of players up and keep both elements to the game, which is commendable. And I think the likes of Conroy's point, I think that's one of the ones where, as a footballer, you always think fair play, because I hate seeing the full 15, the lockdown. Now, do you think it's something that Galway could have played it? Because I thought Armagh times were clinging on in the first half, maybe with a couple of points up. I think if Galway had been more rigid, which would have made it a more horrible game, don't get me wrong. I just mean from winning the match, because it looked like at times they played it a bit shrewder. Obviously, you want to get into the counter-attack. You want to break into the space. So Armagh were getting more joy at doing that than Galway. Now, Galway, it makes for a terrible game if they go and do it. But do you think, in hindsight, that might have been a better game to play it really, really mirror what Armagh was doing, or is that not the Galway way?
Well, to be fair, I suppose in Galway's defence, no pun intended, they'd only conceded one goal, we'll say, up to the final yesterday, and that was kind of actually to Armagh, but that was from a poor kick out in one of the group games. So I hear what you're saying, but it probably, to change tact in an All-Ireland final, at that, kind of in terms of your defensive structure, that's probably a very difficult thing to do.
Yeah. Well, they did go locked down against Donegal in that closing 10. They did really lock down their whole defence.
Yeah.
See the goal thing, and I get that, but really, Donegal didn't concede any goals other except for a freakish Cork game, you know, and I don't think their defence, I don't think many teams are conceding many goals. It seems to be a very odd thing that happens. Listen, I think it's something that because teams are back in numbers, your chances of getting in for goals are very, very limited. So people are more trying to get in around the D, which is what everybody's trying to do. But I just felt that the way Armagh set up, they're trying to suck Galway into that. And I think when Galway, maybe they were doing brilliant work coming off the shoulders and trying to open it up in that, and they were ready for what they were meeting. I just felt that I think that they had the ability to do the opposite at the other end. Now, again, it gets into a real turgid affair there. But just while your forward line maybe wasn't firing, maybe it's your defence that you really needed to go tight on, you know.
Yeah, and well, look, I think we did break them down, and on our own transition once or twice, we did have, you know, sort of, we had outnumbered them. There was one particular one there in the second half, and I think Liam Silk was at the end of the move. I think it was a 4v3 or something like that, and he, instead of putting it over himself, he popped it back to Shane Welch, and it dropped short. But I think, look at, in terms of tactics, right? You know, I think we could discuss it, right? But I still think that the execution of some of our skills, you know, from probably guys that you'd expect to maybe do a bit better, probably let us down. You know, we had the chances to win the game. It's just fellas, I suppose, had off days, really.
Yeah. Tierney been one of them as well, Seán. You know, you probably were lying when the other guys aren't kicking. If he had you know, he has all the talent in the world. You know, Mackin, like, seemed to take him out of the game. He didn't seem to get into it the way his talent could have been, and that could have been another.
I know,
one.
like, it's like an All-Ireland final. It's just, it's like, it's such a different game. I mean, I was standing outside that, you know, the Gills pub there at the top of Jones's Road, right? When both buses pass by, and it's things, you know, it's little things like that you have to deal with, and like, it's such a ruthless, you know, place to be. I mean, somebody asked me once, well, what's it like to play in Croke Park, right? So it can be the best place in the world, right? Or it can be the worst place in the world. You know, it just, and like, it's harsh that players are judged on just 70 minutes in an All-Ireland final, but that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I was at the homecoming this evening, and, you know, you could see some of the faces of the players. Some of them may never get to Croke Park again, may never play in an All-Ireland final again. And, you know, they have to live with the regrets that they have from yesterday, which is terrible, you know.
It's funny, Connolly, who I suppose was Armagh's man of the match, he had a quiet semi-final. So Turbot, you know, me and man inside, you know, it didn't happen for him. And as you said, that's what happens in finals. Like, certain players, you know, Moore Moss a couple of years ago had the absolute game of his life, and I think he's been struggling ever since to come up to that level. And of course, you'd have to say injuries and freeze and just.
I know, and the thing, look at the thing about Shane Walsh as well is like, he's obviously superbly talented, right? But I suppose, in my opinion, he gets an awful lot of stick, unfairly. Yeah. You know, even I suppose yesterday, okay, he missed a couple of frees, and, you know, it's. I suppose he's such a nice guy, like, you know, and he plays the game, and he's easy.
And he has a nice dog. He has a nice dog as well.
And yeah,
see,
I think so.
People giving him
something.
People give him a touch for that ad, and I was like, here, why not? I said, listen, he may as well. If there's a couple of
would that be something you would have done? Would it?
You wouldn't trust me with a dog, eh? I've enough bother with the wee ones, eh, I'll tell you. But no, listen, I see that, and I think somebody was sharing it to me, as you said, nearly a wee bit kind of mocking. I was like, sure, why wouldn't he? You know, okay, if there's a couple of quid going and you're selling a bit of dog food, whatever's going, John, give a short window. Listen, sir, I want to thank you so much, John, for joining us this evening. You've seen both sides of that. It was brilliant to get your words on it. And listen, you've been on the DL debate now. We might get you on sometime in the future. Hey, we'll keep the lines of communication open.
Perfect, Brendan. Come here. Thanks very much. All right.
You're a star, man. Seán,
all right.
Fair play to you. All-Ireland winner, all-star, everything. Played international rules along with him. Great fella. Hey, we'll be speaking to Seán some stage down the road again. The Galway men have to lick the woods and look for next year. After the break, we are going to speak with Gaelic Life's Michael McMullan.
Serving food you'll love till 9 p.m. daily in Sara's Kitchen. And there's free admission entertainment every weekend.
The calendar says it's summer. The weather, when it's in the mood. But the question is it really summer without a trip to Croke Park? With the GAA Museum and Tours, you can still get here. Go backstage with our inspiring stadium tour. Experience breathtaking views on the Kellogg Skyline Tour and explore our national treasures at the GAA Museum. Book now at crokepark.ie/tours. The GAA Museum and Tours. Discover the heart of who we are.
Sometimes it's just bad luck, but sometimes it's negligence. From minor bumps to life-changing injury, every accident has a story. Time to call McElhenney and Associates. They'll assess the situation, advise on solutions, and lead the way if any litigation is to follow. From motor accidents and workplace accidents to slips, trips and falls, call today on 074 917 5989 or find us online. Let's get you started on the road to recovery. McElhenney and Associates Solicitors, Stranorlar. How can we help? In contentious business, a solicitor may not calculate fees or other charges as a percentage or proportion of any award or settlement.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is... The DL debate with Sister Sara's Letterkenny, serving food you'll love till 9 p.m. daily in Sara's Kitchen. And there's free admission entertainment every weekend.
Yes, welcome back, folks. It is 22 minutes to 8. Is it, Joe? Joe's keeping me right here. Joe, you know I'm at the glasses stage. Say, listen, and any mistake I make, I'm going to blame on my eyesight. Now, a man that doesn't make mistakes, who has all the critical analysis of this All-Ireland final, and I'm interested to get his views on it. Of course, the season that was, it's Michael McMullan. Michael, you're welcome.
Cheers, Brendan. I was listening in there. It's hard not to be jealous of Aaron Kernan right now.
Yeah.
He had a pint sitting waiting on him.
This was your Derry dream, Michael. This was supposed to happen for the Derry men this year. What happened here? Everything got torn up.
Oh, the story is all about the winners, Brendan.
Yes.
Armagh just showed both. Funny, I was talking to Jason Byrne yesterday in Croker, and I said to him, we're just like two people at the ball we weren't invited to, so we were both looking on. But no, definitely very, very jealous of Aaron. But to be fair, the amount of, we've all talked about it, the amount of hard luck stories they've had, fair play to them. I know Seán Casey from our own Gaelic Life podcast, we were chatting this morning, and after the Ulster final, he called it his it was like rehab for him. Yeah. Talking about it, and fast forward a few months and they're kings of the land, so fair play to them.
Yeah. Do you know what, as I was saying to the lads there, Michael, just about speaking to Kieran that time, and you know, I guess I have a positive outlook on football, and I'm always looking at the glass, you know, half full scenario, and I was thinking to myself, you know, this team has all the ingredients now. As I was saying to the lads, you know, I'm just saying anything was possible, and we talked about that, you know. It was funny, I was texting Kieran a couple of times, and hopefully he might come on next week for an old yarn. But you know, that even though that old Armagh team was our big issue, you know, this is a different, obviously completely different world now. Kieran's in there. He's you can see the GA man. People were on about the hurt and going up to shake Jim's hand after us the final. He was like a broken man, but he'd put so much in it. This was 10 years in the making. They needed an Ulster Championship from now. To go from the heartbreak, because that must have been in a horrific place to be after Ulster final, to be All-Ireland champions. You know, I was joking with Wooly that you can't win Ulster, but you can win All-Ireland now. It's a tougher competition once you get out Ulster. Listen, it's just been an amazing turnaround. And has it, Mal, did the likes obviously of Kerry Dublin, in terms of where you think they were at, did they play their part in this season, maybe not being the formidable forces they were or we expected them to be?
I think it's probably a case of the Dublin juggernaut just isn't there anymore. Like, it was them, Kerry and Mayo were the teams who were sort of nearly always there, and the rest of us were hoping for a chance to get a seat at the table. Kerry probably have a bit of soul searching to do this winter, I feel. You know, they're 5 All-Ireland minor titles, and David Clifford was their most top scoring sub this year in League and Championship. They don't seem to have the depth. But I think this season was brilliant, Brenton, because it was wide open. When the 4 teams went to Croke Park for the semi-finals, all 4 believed they could win Sam. And if all 4 were in the last 4 next year, it'd be exactly the same. Yeah. I think it's brilliant for the game.
Has it cast the net? You know, I suppose Mayo people thinking we should have beat Galway in the Connacht final. You know, we're saying, well, should we beat Armagh as well? So is everybody looking and thinking, why not at this point? Is it? I mean, has Michael? You know, that the greatest team ever. Let's be honest. Certainly in the modern era, that Dublin team, as you said, now have shown signs that there's going to be a change there. And Kerry seem to not know themselves or know what style they play, or you know, just the energy that Armagh brought, there doesn't seem to be in them, the kind of love of it, you know, which drove Armagh on. So yeah, you know, you're looking at maybe 6-7 teams next year. I'll think, listen, we have a reasonable chance.
That's it on the head. That's exactly it. You know yourself, and you're involved with unions this year. There's a start of the year meeting, and you put your cards on the table, and you have a chat, and you think, look, we can win the All-Ireland, we can win the championship, whatever. There will be 8 teams or so in that mix. Like, I just happened to jump on Paddy Paor today. Like, Armagh are 5th favourites to win next year's All-Ireland. Yeah. Like, what a come down. Not that they'll care, but that just shows you how open it is, that as much as Dublin aren't the force they were, they're still going to be in the mix. Like, they're not going to go away.
Yeah.
So it's probably giving a lot of hope to everybody. Like Tyrone, with that under-20 title, will be thinking if we get a couple of lads in. Unfortunately, they've lost Michael Home to Australia, which is a major slap. You know, Donegal will be sitting thinking, like, that fine line, Brenton, of Kieran Thompson just touching the ball on the ground. Like imagine he had his elbow under it like Rob Finnerty did, and it's not a free. You know, they could be an All-Ireland final. Like, they're bound to be sick. Like, those 8 teams are bound to be sitting today thinking, you know, we can do that next year. And that makes it exciting going forward, that, you know, and maybe a player who's thinking about not going back next year, have had enough or whatever, thinking, look, I'm hanging in here. We can win Sam. But the one thing I will say, Brenton, about it is, I was just watching Geezer addressing the crowd at the homecoming. There was a few videos on social media. And it's a wee bit the same with, I suppose, Jim going into Donegal. Like, Jim is so Donegal and Geezer so Armagh. You know, and they're completely invested in it. Like, they're just Armagh to the core. And that probably came out in their performance. Like, see, whenever they were 3 points up yesterday, you think it's over. And they ended up in a slugfest for another 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But they held on.
Yeah.
And I think that the narrative this winter will be, and it always is, like, the narrative in the winter is always, what did the champions do? The narrative this winter is, there was a group of 40 lads who couldn't win games, didn't lose games, couldn't win silverware, but they hung tough. And that's maybe what other teams are going to do now.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, Mal. You couldn't help but admire them and admire McGeeney, because you can tell from him he has taken some abuse. And if you're heart and soul with that, and that's why people talk about the Ulster final. Of course, he's going to come up to Jim absolutely distraught. It's a penalty shootout again. They were dreaming of Ulster. They weren't dreaming of the All-Ireland, and now here they are. I mean, it's an unbelievable story, and if you're into sport at all, you couldn't help but, you know, warm to it. And I've met them lads, and even that day in Derry, well, you know, all those Armagh boys that were walking over and past when I was there all said low, all had manners. I didn't think someone would know who the hell I was, you know. But they all come over and said hello, and you know, they seemed like all top lads. You know, there was no, you know, the way in olden times would be a bit of stuff going on with lads. You could see they were all 100% good lads who were just dedicating their life to it. Well, just yesterday we're in Galway, and I was saying it to the lads, you know, 25 attempts on goal, 13 points, you know. Armagh, obviously, they had 18 shots, you know, in terms of landing the blows, and obviously got the goal. I'm just thinking, well, the numbers, the percentages game, was it a thing Armagh are saying, right, we're going to give you X amount of shots, but X amount of difficult shots, and we're going to keep you to 5-6 points a half? Is that the markers for, you know, the likes of that game that Armagh play, which is difficult? Now, people say, remember, people were saying you can't do that at Croke Park. They did do it. Is it a thing where the coaching level and the fitness has got to the level now where you used to be able to shut down Croke Park, but I think now teams are able to do that?
You sort of can. They probably made a decision, look, if we can, like, both teams didn't leak a lot of goals all year, so they probably made a decision, look, let's close the middle. And obviously they maybe watched the Connacht final, Brenton, where Damien Comer was just such a focal point, but he had a nagger to work with. They didn't give him that. And probably to sum up that point you make before I move on, Comer got the ball in the corner one time. Paddy Burns, Aaron McKay didn't give him an inch to breathe. Turnover, score, a big, you know, sort of turning point in the game. So they were prepared to push them out wide, and was it McDaid and Conroy had a couple of real good long range scores.
Yeah.
And they probably were happy to do that. They maybe watched the Donegal game and saw that, you know, they maybe flipped the other side what Langan did, and they're probably thinking, look, if we can make Galway do that to themselves and not concede a goal, we're going to be okay. The only thing is, such a fine line. Like, Dylan McHugh's shot goes over with extra time, but I do think they would have won after extra time, Brenton. I do think they would have.
Well, I think part of me was thinking it then, and then when I seen Armagh break a few times, I thought they're just sitting. The nerves of the final where they were has got them.
Mm-hmm.
I still think the energy was there, but you're right, the momentum was there, but I think it was a lot to do with them clinging on.
Finnerty was a big miss, Brenton.
Finnerty, huge.
He was one less man to worry about up there.
Yeah. And he would have guaranteed, like, you know, a bit like Donegal game, two frees, 2 from play or something. You were missing that. Then Walsh, you know, having goals with his left foot, which was a bit surprising. And, you know, see what you're on about the tactics there, Mal. You know, the way Donegal played it this year with the likes of, you know, Mogan and McHugh, etc. You know, the Armagh scores, you know, like 8 scores, and a lot of them coming from midfield and defence. Is that the way you're going? Are you going to see more forwards placed in defence now? And what you want, right, you're going to make a tackler out of your forward, and then you want them to break and get the ball and play. You know, is the day of the defenders down to maybe 1 or 2 teams going to carry out and out defenders? Do you think that's the way sport's going?
I think it is. But at the same time, you see, if you are going with your couple of defenders, you need really good ones.
Yeah.
Because there will come a time in the game. Sean Marty always uses this example for me. Actually, Geezer says it to Sean Marty. He says that was so good about the Dubs. The 2 or 3 men they had were really good man markers that could do a job on their own, because there will come a time when you have to go and you need to be able to say, look, a wee bit like Glenn did in the club final, Brenton, where they sort of had to throw off the shackles, and Ryan Dugan stood beside Ben O'Carroll on his own and says, look, lads, I've got this man here, and then everybody else can play. So probably the pack defence is sort of mask out poor defenders, but the top teams are still going to need you're still going to need your 2 or 3 good men, I think.
Yeah. And Mal, just was saying there, was it 2018 Tyrone in Dublin? Do you remember when they got picked off? That's when everybody said, right, you can't do that at Croke Park. Like, we are back to that kind of stage. And then just on the opposite side, I suppose, in fairness to Armagh, they were trying to, as the lads were saying earlier, you know, transition, kick past the ball where they could, work the space for the mark, set up plays. You know, I was just thinking about Donaghy and his basketball knowledge. You know, that's the kind of thing that's kind of creeping over from that, in terms of that's bunch and break try and get a mark. It was fascinating to see it happening. Like the way everybody was signaling was kind of funny because they were all like, right, let's do it. But that would create, I mean, you're trying to create a bit of confusion in the opposition defence. There's no doubting that does that.
It definitely does. Like, you're probably talking about thinking back to the semi-final when Blaine Hughes was sort of holding the ball in the air, as if to say, right, let's get this up. And it made a huge difference for them, so it did.
Yeah.
But you still need the finishers, and you still need the people who are going to, you still need the pace. You still need that, like the Ross McMullan, like Stephen Campbell making that goal. You still need that, no matter what way the game goes. And I think that's probably what stood Armagh in the long run, is just they had the men to come off the bench, and especially whenever maybe Galway already used Johnny Heaney, so I still think you're just going to need the men that's going to break the line, just the way the game has gone. I think in an ideal world, you do want to play like Galway, and like probably Joyce wants to play that sort of direct ball, like what they did. I'm not sure what you're taking this one as, Brent, what they did to Donegal, where they kept Walsh, Finnerty and Comer up close, and maybe that sort of unsettled Donegal as such.
Yeah.
That's my favourite way of watching it, but you need a mixture. You need a mixture.
Well,
and probably as much as it's a great day for Armagh, and the story always has to be about the winners, because they take their chances. Donegal didn't against Galway. Galway will kick themselves, Brent, the amount of chances they missed. Yeah, there's a stage where there's 4 or 5 chances and they got 1 point out of it.
That's it. And as you said, the momentum was with him. It took McDade a while to get into it. He springs to life, because it wasn't going to come like you had the constant miss freeze from Walsh. And no more than the hurling, Mal, last week, the victors, their markings out of 10 are so higher versus the losers. But yet, a bit like the hurling, it comes down to a point game as well. Isn't it strange how we look at it? So you would say in that regard that Galway kind of, really underperformed, and of course injuries played a part in that. But by the looks of it, a lot of Armagh players that did their job or played well, and then you had a load of Galway lads dropping their performance. And if it only comes down to a point, then God, you would really feel, that you've, the last thing you want to do is underperform. If you're beat by the better team, I think you can handle it, Mal. Is that the toughest thing for Galway now over the winter? Is that you've made it all this way, and then between, of course, you have to take the injuries into context, but outside of that, like, a lot of their players didn't perform.
And it's a long way back, with the fact that 2 years ago you didn't win the final and you're beat narrowly, sort of with Shane Walsh shitting the lights out. But from a glance at their average age, like Shane Walsh will turn 32, the majority of their team will be potentially there for a while. It's whether you use the mindset of we're close. And if you want to use Kieran McGeeney's mantra, we're close, lads. Are you with me or not? Stick with me here. So they probably just have to do what Armagh did and just, literally just get back on the horse. Like, I think they went for a few days jars around Oregon and licked their wounds and got back at it. And probably the big result they got was Hammer and Derry. So Galway, your question, Galway probably just need to go away and think, look, how close are we? The manager will maybe sit down and think, look, are we staying on? Are we all staying on? Right, we're here, lads, and we're going to give it another push. We'll give you a break, and we'll maybe go at the league a bit more differently next year. Hopefully we'll not have as many injuries. But, it's back to your point earlier on in the conversation. There's going to be 6, 7, 8 teams in the mix, and Galway will feel they're one of them, as will Derry, Tyrone, Donegal, Kerry, Dublin, whatever. So it's every team will have the same mentality, I think.
Yeah. And well, just back to the Armagh lads and the knockbacks, and speaking to Geezer a few weeks back there in Derry, if you look at it, trying to frame that, and I was saying to the lads, they would say, Armagh are gone. Wally was saying, they're gone. I said, well, sure, why would they go? There's a new competition now. They haven't won anything. Surely they're still hungry. Sure, they'd be hurt by it, and they'd have to exercise a few demons. But why? What's left? And they came in the Derry that day, and you could see they were ready to go again. But of course they were, because they're still desperate to win. So it would have been not as maybe a difficult job as everybody was saying in terms of their management to say, here lads, nobody's actually beaten us in normal time. It's penalties. We're very, very close. Let's see where this takes us again. And you know, once they, I think, got to that stage where they topped the group in that, the Roscommon victory, then, you know, you were thinking, hold on a second here. Then, of course, you know, your luck has to hang. The Kerry game, the missed goal chances that could have been out of sight. And then you seen maybe that bit of joy and that, I suppose, that weight on the shoulders seemed to come off Armagh, and then they were revelling in it. I think that's why they were so dangerous going into this match on Sunday. They got rid of the baggage, I think, after Roscommon, and then definitely the Kerry game.
Aye, and even if you go back earlier, Brendan, even the Galway group game, like I know Conor Gleeson's must place kick out, give them a way back into the game, but like they sort of coughed up a soft enough free to go one down, but they still found a way to get back. And I know they didn't win that day in Sligo, but they didn't lose. And because they topped the group, maybe they left Sligo with the chests that wee bit further out that day and thought, you know what, that's a big result. And then obviously they beat Derry out the gate. So then all of a sudden they're starting to believe. And funny, Rian O'Neill did comment yesterday when they talked about turning points. You know, we highlighted the Roscommon game just in the fact that they won a game at Croke Park. And like Seán Ogue was on our podcast last week, and him and Stevie McDonald says their win over Dublin in 2002 was a massive result because they'd never won a game in Croke Park. Sligo had drew with them in Croke Park. So maybe it's, as you say, it's 1, 2, 3 games in a row where there's progress, and the penultimate step was beating Kerry. And then gradually you think, you know what, why not 1-0 Ireland?
Why not 1-0 Ireland, Michael? That is a great way to finish the chat, Ty. I love it. Why not, Ty? And I'll tell you what, why not the Dairymen next year? I noticed you kept them quiet in the old All-Ireland conversations. You're cute, boy, you're cute.
Oh, well, they're in there, but the biggest problem at the minute is, and I might as well say this now, listening to a few pods going to Donegal games this year, you know, just driving around to the games. The whole Donegal narrative was we were in a bad place last year. Yeah, they are now in that bad place now.
They'll turn it round, Mal, no doubt in it, dude. I'm out of time here. We will take up this conversation later, sir, no doubt.
Good luck. Mal, we'll be joining Aaron down and cross.
Yeah, we'll make a case for the Dairymen. Don't you worry about it. That's Michael McMullan, Gaelic Life. Thanks so much for joining us this evening and rounding up that championship. I want to thank my guests earlier in the show, Joe Dex for producing, head of sport, Oisin Kelly. I'll speak to you all next week.
The DL debate with Sister Sara's Letterkenny, serving Sara's Kitchen, and there's free admission entertainment every weekend.
Virgin Media is rolling out 2 gig full fibre broadband to more and more homes across Ireland. Big homes, little homes, haunted houses, big gaffs in the country, non-bouncy castles. Number 16, Oxbow Lake Houses. The house with all the cats. To get Ireland's best broadband, check your address at virginmedia.ie. Virgin Media, it's playtime.
T's and C's apply. See virginmedia.ie. Subject to availability. Ireland's best broadband. See virginmedia.ie/proof.
Make more meals for less with Dunnes Stores, where you'll save in the aisle with ingredients for tasty cod tray bake. That's flaky cod fillets, 250 gram pack, just €4. Baked in the oven with vibrant vegetables and herbs, like baby potatoes, chives, carrots and a 69-cent courgette. All from the Dunnes Stores range. Plus, you can save again at the till with a 5 off 25 grocery voucher. Dunnes Stores. Always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used on next in-store grocery shop of €25 or more.
Foy & Company in Ballybuffet and Letterkenny are the largest stockists of paint and wallpapers in the Northwest. Our qualified colour consultants and interior design team will help you create a beautiful space designed for your needs. We work with commercial and residential customers, have all the largest brands and can match any colour. We stock all the interior and exterior paint along with all the painting accessories you'll need to completely transform your space at Foy & Company in Letterkenny and Ballybuffet.
The blockbuster production of Wicked returns to the Bordgash Energy Theatre Dublin. Winner of over 100 Golden Globes and 10 Tony Awards, ranked in the West End's top 10 longest running musicals of all time, and a show that has been seen by 65 million people worldwide. Join Highland Radio Friday 9th of August as we take part in the magic.
At 8, good evening, I'm Tina Gates. 2 children have been killed in a multiple stabbing in Southport in the UK. 9 others are injured, including 6 children in critical condition and a number of adults who tried to stop the attack at a centre holding a Taylor Swift-themed event. A 17-year-old boy has been arrested and a knife seized. Chief Constable Serena Kennedy from Merseyside Police says they're still trying to establish a motive.
The investigation is in its early stages and the motivation for the incident remains unclear. However, Counter-Terrorism Police North West have offered their support to Merseyside Police as the full circumstances of what has happened are being established. At this moment in time, the investigation is not being treated as terrorist-related.
Britain's Prime Minister Keir Starmer says it's impossible to imagine what the families are going through.
I know I speak for everybody in the whole country in saying our thoughts and condolences with the victims, their families, their friends and the wider community.
The family of a woman murdered by her husband in County Mayo 5 years ago want him to be stripped of his parental rights over their 3 children. 51-year-old James Kilroy was today handed a life sentence for murdering Valerie French Kilroy at their home in Kilbree Lower in Westport in June 2019. In the UK, the parental rights of a parent convicted of murdering the other parent are automatically suspended while they're in prison. Valerie's brother David French believes it's time to introduce a similar law here, so people like James Kilroy have no say in their child's upbringing while behind bars.
Valerie's husband killed her brutally, yet he retains all parental rights to her children. This is an absolutely ridiculous situation. Killing a mother is child abuse. Children have to be protected from abusers. Murderers in the UK have their parental rights suspended under what is called Jade's Law.
Israel's Prime Minister has visited the site of the rocket attack in the occupied Golan Heights, which killed 12 children. Hezbollah has been blamed for the incident. However, it denies involvement. Benjamin Netanyahu has vowed a severe response to the incident. It's expected to attack sites in Lebanon linked to the Iranian-backed terror group. Security expert and Senator Tom Clonan says there will be concern for Irish UNIFIL troops serving in the region.
Where the UNIFIL troops are, which is south of the Litani, right down onto the border with Israel, that is going to be targeted. It already has. And as is the case in Gaza and Rafah, I don't think that the Israelis will pay any attention whatsoever to the risk of innocent civilian casualties or casualties amongst UN forces.
An average of 1 motorist every hour is arrested here on suspicion of driving under the influence. The shocking figure has been revealed as Gardaí make a renewed safety appeal after another deadly weekend on the roads. The Taoiseach Simon Harris says we must all make an effort to reverse the trend in road deaths. Superintendent Liam Garrity has this warning for anyone thinking of getting behind the wheel while drinking or on drugs.
So far this year, we are arresting 1 driver every hour on suspicion of intoxicated driving. That's over 4,200 people so far this year that made a conscious decision to drink alcohol or take an intoxicant and get into a car or vehicle and drive afterwards. They are now all facing prosecution. They thought it wasn't going to happen to them. It will.
Junior Transport Minister James Lawless says drivers will be consulted before CCTV in taxis is mandated. The plan was proposed following the sentencing of taxi driver Raymond Shorten for the rape of 2 female passengers 2 years ago. It's been met with opposition from representatives of the National Private Hire and Taxi Association, but Minister Lawless says they will be engaged with throughout the process. These taxi drivers say CCTV would make everyone's lives easier.
Yeah, I think it's great to protect us, protect the passengers. I think it's a great idea.
I think it's a great thing, and particularly if it's subsidised, it'd be fantastic.
And that's your latest news update at 4 minutes past 8. Sport now. In Olympics in the past half hour, Ellen Walsh has finished 8th in the final of the women's 400-metre individual medley. Canada's Summer McIntosh took gold in the race. Just after 8:30, Mona McSharry will be in lane 5 for the final of the 100-metre breaststroke. McSharry qualified second fastest this morning. Daniel Hill competes in the first semi-final of the 100-metre backstroke in the next few moments. Daniel Whiffen will be back for tomorrow's 800-metre freestyle final, having qualified fastest this morning. Ireland has the chance to exact some immediate revenge from Australia in the women's rugby sevens tonight, having lost to the same opposition in the group stage this afternoon. They meet again in the last of the night's quarter-finals. The match is underway at 9:30. Ireland's Liam Jegu refused to be downbeat despite narrowly missing out on a medal in the men's C1 canoe. He placed 7th overall, but if not for a second penalty, or 2-second penalty, should I say, at his last gate, Jegu would have taken the silver. Gold there went to Nicolas Gestin of France. Kelly Harrington will box for a medal on Wednesday after winning her lightweight last 16 bout this afternoon. The Tokyo gold medalist beat Italy's Alicia Messiano by unanimous decision. Next for Harrington is Colombia's Angie Valdez. Robert Dixon and Seán Waterlove are second overall after 6 races of the men's skiff. 6 races remain before Thursday's medal race. Austin O'Connor and his horse Colorado Blue finished 17th in the individual show jumping final. And in Gaelic Games, Armagh's footballers have received a hero's welcome at the Boxit Athletic Grounds after bringing Sam Maguire home. Among those to address the crowd tonight was manager Kieran McGeeney.
They were told they would never get out of the grip of death, to top the grip of death. They were told they couldn't win tight games. They won tight games. Everybody said they wouldn't win the All-Ireland, and they won the All-Ireland!
And that's your latest news and sport at 6 minutes past 8.
Broadcasting throughout the Northwest and across the world online. This is Highland Radio with Paul McDevitt.
It's Monday night sessions with myself, Paul McDevitt, and absolutely delighted to have your company between now and 10 as always. Brand Devenney, thank you very much indeed, and Joe Dex for the DL debate. We have a busy show lined up for you tonight. We will be joined very shortly by Rathmullen band, a bigger part in the Odysseys, and looking forward to that. Audrey Jack will also be dropping it. And by the way, we'll try. I know Mickey Duffy has a cracking new tune there, but unfortunately I was rushed this evening, and I don't think I'm going to be able to play it, Mickey, but I will certainly try my best because it's the way I connect with it. It's an amazing song. Anyway, quick look at your weather forecast. Rather cloudy this evening, patchy breaks of rain and drizzle, so why not? And tomorrow it'll be mostly dry to start tomorrow, Tuesday, with a few bright or sunny spells, but cloud and some patchy rain drizzle will beat its way over this way. And before we go any further, I have to say a massive hello to Mary Dunn. Hello to Mary here in Letterkenny. And your daughter Kelly, I was in their company today down there. Do you know what? I'm going to tell you something now, Mary, right? She's running that place. Ward 44 up there, the what do you call it? Cardiology units up there. She's running it on her own, Mary. Kelly, honest to God in heaven. She goes home at night, her back sore. I just want to thank them all. Thank you very much indeed, everybody over at unit or Ward 44 today. You're absolutely brilliant. Here's Paul Casey.
The best music on your station, Highland Radio.
If we don't get this right,